Infinite balance. That's what I try to do here. Keep it going. Gary Direnfeld's with us, our resident social worker. He's your social worker, too. Gary, good to have you back. Happy Sunday morning to you.
Happy Sunday morning, guys.
Thank you.
It's not always a happy Sunday morning for families that are in distress or in crisis or fighting amongst themselves. The topic today, a lot of people can relate to. Are you fighting with a teenage son or daughter? Is it getting physical, perhaps? And how do parents repair the relationship while managing these outbursts that are aggressive and intimidating? If not, in some cases, actually quite dangerous. Teenagers can be real powder kegs, Gary.
Yes, they can. And I work with families in that degree of distress where the children are in fisticuffs with the parents or threatening, intimidating, destroying property of the home, in the home. And, you know, what parents have to realize, first of all, these are not situations that are going to turn around quickly, easily, and certainly not without serious intervention. It's important for parents to know that if they are in a situation with their teen where there is that degree of intimidation, violence, out of control behavior, the first rule of thumb is always about safety. So to restore safety, it is important at these moments to actually call 911. You can call the police. They will come to your home. They will restore peace. The other thing that you can do in the city of Hamilton is call COAST. If you Google the word COAST, City of Hamilton, crisis, it's the Crisis Outreach Something Team. You'll get to that through Google. And we're blessed here in Hamilton to have the support of like psychiatric nurses, social workers, who can come out to crises. Listen, there might be too many going on at a time in a city like this, but they're going to make it out at some point and say, you know, what services do you need? How can we help diffuse what's going on?
But Gary, what would you say to a parent who would struggle with having to call a third party to come in and help?
You got to put that struggle aside.
Okay.
Because at this point, the child has you held hostage by threat of violence or even threat of self-harm. And as long as that is successful at undermining the expectations of the parent, nothing's going to change. So you're going to have to swallow your pride or your concern or the shame or embarrassment, because the number one priority at those moments is restoring safety. The other thing that happens, guys, this is the outcome of broken relationships. It's not where we begin. But when relationships are that fractured, when things are quiet in the house, we're typically still holding our resentment and we're staying away from each other. That's where things also have to change.
Well, and Gary, I wanted to ask, how does it, I mean, every situation is different. I understand that. But how does it get to this point?
That was my question, exactly, yeah.
Well, you know, do you know what gunnel bobbing is?
No.
Gunnel bobbing. So you're not outdoors people. You ever been in a canoe?
Yeah, yes.
I did. It tipped over.
Well,
and I had to swim
you were
to shore.
gunnel bobbing. You know, gunnel bobbing is a fun game that we can play with the canoe. We try and stand on the outside edges. The outside edges of any boat are called gunnels.
Right, okay.
So when we stand on those outside edges and we tip it back and forth until eventually somebody spills out. That's gunnel bobbing, and it's actually a fun game to play out on the water. Relationships can look like gunnel bobbing. We start gently. There's this rock, and I'm going to compensate by rocking it that way. Then the teen compensates by taking it further this way. And it's this process of gunnel bobbing where things eventually escalate out of control. You can't make me do your homework. I'm going to make you do your homework. You're a this and a that.
Right.
No, you're a this and a that. Well, where the heck did the homework go? I'm out of here. You can't tell me what. If you're out of here, you can't. So this is the gunnel bobbing. It's that back and forth, the escalation of behavior. And so we, as the therapist, we have to intervene, first of all, restore safety, and sometimes, again, that's through crisis intervention. It could be police. But when we're not gunnel bobbing, when we're off the gunnels and things are going well, that's when it's up to the parent, not the child, we're the parent, to approach the child and say, you know what, I'm glad we're quiet right now. you look good, I love you, and then just walk away. Weird. Just a nice word, a loving word, and walk away. The reason we encourage the parent to do that is because in the midst of all the gunnel bobbing, when it's quiet, all we're doing is harboring bad feelings, and the kid is going to think, my parents don't love me. My parents don't like me. They want nothing to do with me. When the parent at those quiet times comes in, gives a pat on the shoulder, a kiss on the top of the head, and leaves, then the kid has to reconcile, maybe my parent isn't so bad after all. Maybe there is still some semblance of love and caring, and that's how the parent can restore some peace on a longer-term basis. So instead of parents, it's quiet, I'm going to stick the heck away, I don't want to poke any bears, I'm not counseling you to poke a bear. I'm counseling you to come in and let your child know that you still love them.
Gary, does behavior and relationship behavior earlier in life presume what will happen when they get to be teenagers? In other words, if your kids when they're younger are rambunctious and bouncing off the walls, is it safe to assume that when they become teenagers that things will get wacky?
So sometimes yes and sometimes no, Jamie. We talk about the trajectory of a child's development. If I pull back on a bow and arrow and I release the arrow, it has a trajectory. It's going straight ahead, unless there's a weird quirk to the arrow. And so sometimes we will see, very often we'll see, behavior problems in the younger child, like the child going forward over time, like that arrow through space. It's going to continue. It's going to escalate. We're only going to see it building upon itself. And so why do we come to therapy? It's to change that trajectory, quite frankly. That's the role of therapy. There are other occasions where you can have seemingly reasonable, good early childhood, yet something does happen around adolescence that then changes the trajectory. Maybe it's peer pressure. Maybe it's a bad school. Maybe it's a bad experience. Oh, somebody's at my door.
It's okay.
And my dog is barking.
As long as it's not the wolves.
Yeah. So that's when we have to change. Come on in, guys. That's when we have to examine what has set this different trajectory in action, and how do we mitigate that at this point?
Sure.
And if there's that gunnel bobbing, what we want to do is intervene earlier on in that gunnel bobbing. Let's not wait until there's threats of harm between each other. Let's find a way to intervene earlier in that behavior chain to mitigate the violence at the end.
All right, Gary, how do people get a hold of you if they'd like to consult with you?
Thanks very much. Go to my website, www.yoursocialworker.com. Tons of information about all of this. And I call this checking in on your teen when things are going well. I call it guerrilla love. And you'll be able to find in one of the articles on my website more comments on guerrilla love.
All right. Gary, we always learn a lot from you and really appreciate your time. Thanks so much for being with us here.
And you never know who's going to knock at your door during Sunday brunch.
Exactly.
That's right. Hopefully they're friendly. We'll talk to you real soon. Take care. Have a great Sunday.
Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, Gary. Bye-bye. There's
Gary Direnfeld, your social worker. And, boy, that was a real eye-opener today. I hope there aren't too many families that are listening this morning that are going through that, because that can be really, really rough.